All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Crossing the Streams.
What's
so
up?
Excited. Yeah, so excited to have everybody here. We got just a tight crew today. This is the tight crew. It's just we make we do it. Anyway, I haven't updated the theme song yet, Marcy. It's not because I don't love you. It's just I just haven't had the time. It's a pain in the butt. That's all.
I'm not even offended.
So
I love the theme song.
So go ahead and start it.
You want me to start it? Here's a story of some lonely fellas who spend way too much time watching the TV. All of them have jobs and friends. Well, not really, just between you and me.
Yay, Ron.
They made a live show out of their hobby. Every TV watcher's TV watching dream. Jeff on Sal and Bob, and there's Marcy. They call it Crossing Streams.
Ooh. And then one day they went live on all the platforms. You could hear the people laugh and shout and scream. Still can't find another word that rhymes with platform. But man, we cross the streams. We cross the streams.
We cross the
streams.
We cross the streams. That's where we're doing.
We do it here. We cross the streams.
All right. That's exciting.
So
that was fun. Welcome to Crossing the Streams, where we answer the universal question. I just binged something, and I got to binge something else. What should I watch? Well, you've come to the right place. This is episode 114. We have 113 hours of binge watching suggestions on our YouTube channel. It's crazy. This is the 13th episode of 2023. We're off to a great start. Oh man, this is fun. So, Marcy's brother is here, former guest of the show.
Apparently, he's with my dad.
Okay.
Lee is here.
Nice.
Hi, Lee.
What's up, Lee?
Hi,
Jerry's
Lee. How are
here.
you?
What's
Hi,
up,
Jerry.
Chacon.
Oh my gosh. So, couple things. One is thoughts and prayers, I guess, for Jamie Foxx. Do you see? Like he's like in a bad way.
Oh.
Do you see that? He's in the hospital.
No, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, he's in the hospital, and they're like, we're praying for the best, but we're also preparing for the worst.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. I know that they're not talking. Like we don't know what happened.
Yeah, something. He's been in the hospital for weeks. So get well soon.
Get well, Jamie.
Jamie Foxx.
Love Jamie Foxx.
I know.
Everybody
Jamie
loves
Foxx
Jamie
is
Foxx.
awesome.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love Jamie Foxx?
I keep seeing the casino commercial or something that he's on and thinking he's okay.
DraftKings.
That is the mark of health, I have to say.
Like, oh my God, there he is. He's fine.
Marcy, it's just TV.
Okay. I love it.
Don't watch The Wizard of Oz. They're all dead. Oh man. So what else? Anything else going on? Oh, I'm watching. I'm not prepared to talk about it, but I am caught up with Ted Lasso, and I am caught up with the recent season of Miss Maisel, which I think out of the gate, I think this is the best season.
So good. Thank you, Aaron, for telling me that it started. My brother just was like, "Are you watching Mrs. Maisel?"
Season 1 and 2 were I just replayed Howard Rosner's review that went through season 4 on the podcast, but season 1 and 2 were amazing, and then 3 and 4 it took about they were like 8 episodes, took about 7.5 episodes to get going. Right. And like last season, like at the end, it was good. You know what I mean? Like the very end. But this season, like right out of the gate.
And they listen, I think they get a lot of because it's the final season, they're taking more chances, which I think makes it more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing a great job with it. She's so talented. Rachel Brosnahan is so talented, and pretty much the whole ensemble, I think, is just killing it this season. So I'm excited to see where it ends.
Oh, I love that whole cast. She's my least favorite person on the show, if that tells you anything.
Yeah.
Of how much I love.
Yeah.
The supporting characters are
amazing.
Are either of you watching? Howard reviewed a while back Welcome to Wrexham, the Ryan Reynolds.
Didn't they just win in real life or something?
They sure did. They just got promoted to the English what's called the League Pyramid. They're on the 4th level of the league pyramid, but he took this team, which was worth nothing, and just through the sheer power of his brand and effort, and Rob McElhaney and the whole group that they put together, they're saying he's going to make $1 billion on this team that was worth nothing a minute ago.
He paid like $2.5 million. That's it,
Something like
$2.5
that.
million.
Yeah.
Everything Ryan Reynolds does, he's like a genius.
I know.
Like,
Anything Ryan Reynolds touches.
Like literally, like his
including
gin
Alanis
company,
Morissette.
his gin company made a fortune.
That's right.
That Mint Mobile, he just sold.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's
the ultimate marketer. Yep.
Yeah, he has a whole agency that does all that kind of stuff.
Good for Wrexham. So check it out if you guys haven't seen that.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, my wife's discovered recently Community. Have you ever watched Community?
No, what is that?
Yeah, they're making the movie finally.
Wait, Ron, you've never watched Community?
I have not.
Oh
Tell
my
me.
God. Community is one of the best sitcoms ever, at least up to a point. And then some of the cast left, and Chevy Chase went a little crazy, and then I think the last season on Yahoo, I never saw. But at least the first 3 seasons are some of the most creative. It's one of the most creative shows like ever. Like the ensemble's amazing, but just what they do with the show, it's incredible. You got to watch it.
I will definitely check it out.
It is great.
Not only have I not watched it, I have to admit to you, I've never even heard of it. And
it's with Joel McHale. It's Yvonne Brown. Alison Brie.
And Alison Brie. Yeah, I see that. Jillian Jacobs.
My brother Aaron, he's got something to say about it. He said it the last time you mentioned it. Community is the greatest show of all time.
And what's his name is on it? Oh my God, why can't I think of his name?
The guy from Hangover, Dr. What's his name?
No, not him. Don Glover.
Donald
Glover.
Oh, Donald Glover. Yeah.
Donald Glover and Danny Pudi, Abed and Troy on the show I think they're a better bromance than like Scrubs, like the 2 guys on Scrubs, JD and you gotta watch this show. I can't believe you've never even heard of it. Oh my God.
I will definitely check it out. Yeah. So I will admit, I don't know what compelled me to do this, Jeff, but I think you'll appreciate this. Out of the clear blue sky, with no intent, I don't know why I started watching Ozark again, and now I'm into the 3rd season again. Like, why am I doing this? I've already seen this show entirely, and I just got done telling you how it's a panic attack every single episode.
I know it is. It's exhausting. It's a hard show to watch. Aaron just pointed out this is where Ken Jeong, that personality Ken Jeong has that now he does with everything, originated on Community. And John Oliver actually is a side character. That's
right.
I do like John Oliver.
Forgot about that.
Yeah. So
it's really funny.
Yeah, so you gotta check that out.
I will check it. It's on Netflix. I just
and there's so many; they'll keep you busy for a long time.
Oh nice. Yeah. You gotta you watch it and then you review it.
I will. I'll check it out.
So all right. So what do we got? Last week we talked about Wellmania, the unbearable weight of massive talent. The king of collectibles, and I want to dance with somebody. We won't be no chick flicks this week. Sal's got the week off, so we'll be covering Narvik, Diplomat, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Ron and I are gonna do that one together, and then a new kind of segment or thread. Marcy's gonna do theater reviews, and this is Dixie's Tupperware Party. So Marcy's a theater goer. She's very fancy. That's why you'll notice her pinky's always up.
I see that.
Yeah, I know. All right, well let's kick things off with let's talk Guardians of the Galaxy. Actually, Volume 3. Let's just talk about that first. So Ron, this is a Marvel movie.
Yes, it is.
You saw a Marvel movie with your kids. I saw it. Did you see this movie, Marcy?
I have never seen that. No, I've never seen one.
Never seen one. Okay. Ron, what did you think?
So listen, in full disclosure, I'm on a record. I don't love Marvel movies. I don't think the story, acting, production is all that great. I think it relies on CGI. I think these are weak movies that are really just essentially visual effect that with a cast wrapped around it. That being said, I'm just going to say I have enjoyed the Guardians franchise because it's been the best, in my opinion, of the Marvel, any of the Marvel Cinematic Universe with humor. They inject a lot of modern day, colloquialism that I think is interesting, and I think Christopher Pratt's hilarious, and I think. I think the show was actually very entertaining from beginning to end. I actually got a big kick out of this show. And I just took my daughter. My daughter just had foot surgery, so she hasn't been able to go anywhere. And so I threw her in the car and wheeled her into the MJR Theater in Waterford, Michigan, so that we could both watch in an almost empty theater Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And I have to tell you, we were entertained for the whole 2.5 hours, and I really enjoyed it. How about you, Jeff?
Guardians of the Galaxy is my favorite movies of the Marvel movies as well. The original Guardians of the Galaxy has the feel of Star Wars. So how I felt after seeing Star Wars. Like that's, and the thing about the Guardians of the Galaxy movies are, I just read this and I think it's true. They're James Gunn movies first, and then they're Marvel movies second. And it really does make all the difference. And you can tell, like Doctor Strange 2, should have been the greatest movie ever if they let Sam Raimi make a Sam Raimi movie. But, that script got rewritten 33 times, as I understand it. They just, they have to always, Wakanda forever. Like, oh, this character happens to be Ironheart because we know here we're going to make a series on Ironheart. It's like everything is just there to prop up something else. You don't get that from Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, there's a tease that things could go on, but there may never be another Guardians thing ever, and that's totally fine. To fully enjoy Guardians of the Galaxy, you should watch I think it's like a 30-minute Christmas special that they did. It does actually reference the special at least a couple times. And the interesting thing when I was watching Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the one thing that I think is nice about the Marvel method of storytelling is like Mantis, for example. Like I felt like I really understood that character, and she had been part of whatever memory I have of this team much longer, but she was only in the second movie. Right. But then she was also in all the ancillary movies, and there were also, and the Christmas special. So it does allow the characters to kind of develop a little bit more. So when they do come back in a movie, they're not just picking up from the last movie. So that's a little unique. But this movie is very entertaining. I think I had heard this before going in. It's very dark. It's a very dark movie. If your PETA came out and said this is a animal rights
concern,
no, dream. I mean,
dream.
It presents the issues of animals, animal rights in an extreme. It tells the story of Rocket, and it's his story. This movie is really his movie, and so you get his full backstory, and you can tell. I mean, everyone he was completely re-engineered and all that kind of stuff, and they don't hold back when it comes to animal cruelty and how he got to that in his backstory and others along the way that were part of his story. So if that's something that bothers you, just be prepared for that. It is funny also that people go, oh my God, an animal, got hurt. But 10,000 people died that animal got hurt. And and
that's reality.
Well, there's something else.
Emotions.
There's something else, and I don't know, Jeff. You'd have to tell me if this is more a Marvel thing or if it's a Guardians franchise thing. But the willingness of this ensemble cast of huge names being just completely willing to step in and do bit parts, sometimes even single scenes just to have their name as part of this franchise, I think is pretty interesting. And I part of the fun, if you're new to it like I am, is kind of picking out, because everyone's in makeup, everyone's in crazy different costume and makeup. Other than Sylvester Stallone, who does have a couple scenes in this movie, right? Picking out major A-lister stars who signed on to be part of this is super interesting. Like, Vin Rames and Margot Robbie and Vin Diesel and, Benicio del Toro was in this. It's crazy how all these major mega stars who are A-listers on their own right are willing to just kind of, be part of the fun. And it is interesting. I will also say that, my gosh, is there anything that Bradley Cooper can't do? And I know the rocket thing is a silly thing. You never see Bradley Cooper's face because it's it's all CGI, but my gosh, he's kind of like Ryan Reynolds in the sense that everything Bradley Cooper touches, goes to the moon. And in this case, I think he did a great job on this. The backstory for Rocket, it was interesting. I did enjoy it. Yeah, I agree, it's a little dark, but you know what? The story was a good story, and I thought it came full circle nicely. And all the CGI bullshit aside, I actually thought it was a pretty interesting story arc for that character.
No, it was great. And Dave Bautista is amazing. I love Dave. I love him in everything he does. He's actually a really good actor. And the reason a lot of these actors show up, Ron, is they're all friends of James Gunn, and so you'll see the same people. Like they're saying, like a lot of these people are going to be in the new Superman movie that he's doing. So they all kind of follow him. And then the only thing I heard is I was on a different podcast talking about it, and someone who was very into the comics and stuff like that did not like the Adam Warlock character, how they did that in this movie. Me having no context, it seemed to work in the context of the movie, but I guess to the character itself.
Well, so Will Poulter, who plays Adam Warlock, if you guys know who he is, for whatever reason, whenever I see him, I think of the
We're the Millers.
We're the Millers, yeah, because he's just this nerdy kid who just gets made fun of the entire movie, and so I have to admit I have a hard time seeing him in this movie, and it does seem a little bit like a miscast of him in that role, but honestly, it didn't matter. It was still all part of the fun, and to me, he didn't detract from there. In fact, he had some funny moments as well.
He was good. He was good.
Yeah. I also enjoyed, with it being the story of Rocket, who's a raccoon. I did enjoy the ongoing joke throughout the movie there, where they kept naming him different animals, like, go in there and find your hedgehog and get out, or go, as soon as you talk to the squirrel, let us know. And, just like they kept misnaming him animals. And I know that sounds silly and immature, but by the third or fourth one, it was actually pretty funny. People
I think that's been a running joke in all the movies. So
Got it.
Yeah. So all right. So everyone go see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Definitely worth checking out. All right, since Marcy was kind enough just to sit through that.
Dixie's Tupperware. Look at that hair.
This is our new a new thing. We're gonna do.
This is new.
Theater reviews. Marcy's gonna do both, but like Marcy does go to a lot of shows, so so we thought, hey, why not?
Why not? So I was bragging recently that I saw Dixie's Tupperware Party. I came across my phone that this Dixie's Tupperware Party was coming to Detroit to the music hall. I've never been to the music hall, and I'm looking at that picture that Jeff just had up, and I'm like, what is this? Obviously that's a drag queen, and it's a Tupperware party. I've been to 2 drag queen bingos, both times. I couldn't breathe. I laughed so hard. It's such a fun night. I called my mom. I'm like, we have to go see the show. I don't know anything about it. So we got really good seats. And I love this whole story. So this guy, Chris Anderson, is an actor, writer, comedian. He's Dixie Longate, and he is like the number 2 Tupperware salesperson in the world because he's a genius. So he is, kind of struggling. His roommate ends up just for fun throwing a Tupperware party, and he realizes that this Tupperware lady is making more money than he's making waiting tables. And he basically comes up with this character and starts doing these shows for people in California. And he's selling Tupperware with this fictional character he's slowly making up and tweaking. And next thing you know, he's written up in a newspaper in California. And he's already he's like a playwright. He's in California wanting to be in show business, writing, being funny. And he writes this theater play, this whole story. Well, when we got there, not knowing very much. In fact, my mom found out the day before. She goes, is that a drag queen? And I'm like, yeah. She goes, oh my God, I had no idea. I thought we were just going to go see some woman, we didn't even know what we were getting into. When we got there, we were handed real Tupperware catalog books. And throughout this hilarious, inappropriate, sexual, insane show, she is slipping in the Tupperware products and just talking about how you would use it in your trailer, because she came from a trailer in like Alabama. She left her 3 kids. She's got this whole fake story going, and it's hilarious. And you know what? I was a little surprised by how many men were in the audience. I brought my mother. I wasn't thinking about bringing my husband, but you know what? There's a lot of gay men in the audience, a lot of gay men. And I'll tell you, right out of the front row, she looks at these 2 women and she just goes, lesbians, I tell ya. And she goes, the whole show, she brought them in and then ended up bringing them on stage. And some guy, and when I tell you, we were all on the floor cracking up. It was just a hoot. And she's traveled the world with this show. She is just really, she's the number 2 Tupperware salesperson in the world. And she's selling this stuff to everyone. So doing the show. It's amazing.
I have so many questions.
Can you really buy it?
Yeah, that was my first question. So you can buy.
You can buy. Now, I did look up one bowl when I got home, and it was $59 in the catalog, and I think that it was on sale half off on the Tupperware website. But she's got real funny comments about buying your Tupperware online. You're like, she's just like, she was so funny. So you can, she wants you to buy. Tons of people bought stuff.
And how old is she?
So that's that's like real.
Are we talking 20s, 30s, 40s?
Okay, so I don't have an age. Definitely, I would say late 30s.
Got it. Okay.
I'm not sure, but I will say that I found out that he was on a pilot show, and I watched this trailer, and it looked really funny. It was called Telemarketers, and I watched, and I'm like, and there's this group of like 5 guys, and they're all going back and forth, and they're really funny. I'm like, which one is he? Couldn't even tell. I could not even tell which one it would have been him. And I was like right there for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Great legs, by the way. He's got great legs.
Let me just tell you, some of these folks in drag have the best bodies ever, and it's like, I think that's part of the charm. I really do. I think
it helps.
It does, right?
It's never going to be the face.
No, that's not always true, but yeah, it's mostly true. Interesting. And so it's a lot of sexual humor, a lot of
tons, and to your face. Yeah. To your face. You wish Gallagher was throwing watermelon at you, as she is just so vulgar. Yeah. And it's acceptable because that's why you're all there. That's what you're getting. Wow. It's super fun. And we enjoyed it very much. Like 90 minutes, no intermission, in and out. My husband couldn't believe how early I got home that night. And
is it? So I'm sorry. Is it musical or not?
No, it's like a one-person show.
One person show. And actually, I got some great photos of the stage before she started. You walk in, and there's a table in the middle of the stage filled with Tupperware. pieces I remember, pieces I'm kind of interested in, just really.
So this is kind of like almost like the vagina monologues, sort of like it's
Okay.
that style.
The vagina monologues, they just kind of sit in chairs, if I remember that correctly, and just read from scripts. No, this is a guy who comes out in his costume, which is drag, and has his Tupperware and has lines that he's, that he actually knows and doesn't have a script, and improvises. He does a lot of the same stuff. Like I read about something in an article, and I was like, oh yeah, I watched him do that, where he finds an elderly woman towards the front and asks her a question, and they never say the F word. And everyone else, I'm like, oh, I'd say F you. And this woman goes, screw you, in the audience. And I was just, and Dixie's all, girl, we don't say screw, and then later on she walks up and asks her again. And this old lady goes, fuck you. And you're like, woo. Well, literally this article talks about how he did it there. So that's like totally a part of his shtick. But I honestly didn't love the vagina monologues. I was kind of bored. But I'm going to say one other thing. Yeah. So he resides in Denver. It says that the Denver Center commissioned Anderson to write and perform another show that they have all the time, and it's called Dixie's Never Wear a Tube Top While Riding a Mechanical Bull, and 16 Other Things I Learned While I Was Drinking Last Thursday. So that's his new show. That's his title. I want to see that. That's funny. I think it's going to be really funny. So, it was here for one night, and if you want to catch it, it was nuts. I mean, you know what? When was the last time I was at a sold out theater performance in Detroit?
Hamilton.
It's been a while, probably, because I guess maybe I don't go on a Saturday night. But what was that?
Dixie's Tupperware party.
It was
probably
not
last time it was sold out.
I'm sure it sells out in Alabama. And I don't know, but it's fun, super fun night out.
Interesting. I'm going to Google it as soon as we finish this. I want to see this because I love irreverent stage humor. But as an example, the musicals like Book of Mormon and these types. Yeah. I love all of it.
I was just at Book of Mormon. Just took my boys finally.
I need to see it. My daughter saw it twice in London.
Have you not seen it, Jeff?
It's so good, Jeff. It's so good.
Oh my God. I listened to it in my car.
Really? I have. Yeah. I mean, I don't know why I haven't. I haven't.
Denise, my wife, who will not listen to irreverent humor and disgusting any of that. I dragged her to the show. And even she was for 2 full hours belly laughing how funny this show is, especially as a Catholic. She's Catholic, so it's pretty. They make fun of everybody, so it's excellent.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. Well, speaking of funny, let's pivot to
this is
Narvik.
Really.
Let's go to Narvik.
That was quite ironical. Yeah. So this was one of the algorithms that I rely on from Netflix. Our good friends. This is a hour and 49-minute, somewhat fictional but documentary story about the Norwegian port of Narvik during World War II. And what's really interesting about Narvik, by the way, I'd never even heard of Narvik. Have either of you heard of Narvik?
No.
Narvik is, just to give you just a bit of context, it's the furthest northernmost port in the entire Scandinavian peninsula, but in Norway. It's a deep water port. And what's interesting about it is that during World War II, if you can imagine this, 85% of the German iron ore that they needed to transact the war was exported out of this port in Norway. So it's a place you've never heard of that played a vital role to the Germans being able to, conquer most of Europe. And what's super interesting also about this is this was one of the only places in all of Europe during Hitler's race across Europe that was actually retaken by the Allies, even while Germany was moving across and being positioned to take over France. So in 1940, this was held by, well, actually, let me just say this for a second. There was a moment before the war in like 1938 and 39, if you can imagine this, so much iron ore was being produced out of Narvik that both sides of England and France and Germany had an agreement, even though they both knew each side was leading towards war. They had an agreement that they weren't going to disrupt each other's iron ore production. Can you imagine this? Like that they both allowed each other to use the port to pull out as much iron ore as was needed to, in the lead up to World War II, to use the very iron ore that they were going to use to conquer each other. And it's a crazy story about Narvik. But of course, leave it to the Germans. They're the ones who broke that truce in 1939. They took it right away, and then the English Navy then pretty much took over the port, and they were able to take over the town while Germany raced through this. But the story talks about a Norwegian couple. Husband gets drafted as part of the Norwegian Home Command and has to defend the port of Narvik against the Germans. The wife is a German Norwegian translator, and the Germans borrow her while they take control of the port. It's a back and forth story. Is it German? Is it Norwegian? Is it Ally? Is it Axis? You don't know who's going to control this port, so it calls into question, and this is what the movie is really about. You have to declare your allegiances. And if you don't declare your the right allegiance at the right time, you could end up in big trouble, depending upon who ends up controlling this. And so, strangely enough, without giving too much away, this particular couple amazingly end up on opposite sides of the loyalty of the city of Narvik. He's a soldier for the Norwegians and the Allies, and she ends up working for the Germans. And that's the story within the story. And it's I don't know if it's a nonfiction or completely made up, but it's very easy to believe now, knowing what I know about Narvik, that there probably were a lot of stories like this where people's loyalties got challenged in a city that changed its own loyalty back and forth throughout World War II. And Narvik became like a symbol of Allied resistance to the Germans. And it's like I said, it became famous not just for the iron ore production and the whole story I told you about sharing the port, but also because it was the only port in Europe to be taken by the French and the English during the war, before the Normandy invasion and the Allies regrouping and marching back across. So I found this story to be super interesting. It's all in Norwegian, by the way. It's subtitled. I tend to do this over and over and over again. I find these crazy subtitled movies that tell great stories. I don't know where these European production companies are coming up with all these amazing actors, and this ended up being produced and distributed by Netflix. So apparently they came up with a script and a studio that they thought was worthwhile. But it tells a really interesting story. You're not going to recognize any of the actors. They're all Norwegian and German. And I actually looked through to see maybe there's somebody who we'd recognize. Nope, we don't know anybody. In fact, I have to tell you, as I look at the names, even right now, I'm looking at the names, I can't even pronounce any of these names. But it is a very believable story, very well acted. The production values are great. Here's something interesting. It's TV-14, which I think is really interesting for a war movie story like this. That usually it's bloody and gory and always rated R, and this one's not. It focuses more on the political drama and the storyline of what it's like to be a Norwegian over the Battle of Narvik. And I urge those listening to us here on Crossing the Streams, if you're not familiar with Narvik, just for 2 seconds, go Google the Battle of Narvik, because what you'll find is a lot of passionate storytelling about this really, really important piece of history that was never talked about before now. So I feel like Netflix taught me something that was super, super interesting. And I think if you don't mind spending an hour, 49 minutes reading subtitles, you're going to get told a really interesting story that I think you'd appreciate. So check it out, Netflix. It became available in January. Its Rotten Tomato score, I don't have it right in front of me, but it's decent. And check it out. I think you guys would like it. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome, Ron.
Wow.
I learned something from you learning something from
Right.
Netflix.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's a good pivot to another serious amount of diplomacy of foreign affairs happening. So I'm not sure if anyone's aware, but there was a big boat in the UK that got bombed, and so they made a TV show on it starring Kerry Russell. No, the the Diplomat. I was trying to tie it in to your fancy stuff, and I'm failing. All right, let's start over. The Diplomat is a show on Netflix starring Kerry Russell. It's a great show for about. There's 8 episodes. It's great for about 2-3 episodes, and then she cuts her hair, and then just goes downhill.
Ah, got that joke.
There we go. So The Diplomat is one of my favorite shows that I've seen in forever. It seems that when they switched to this 8-episode model, 10-episode model, in the beginning, they got it. They go at the end of every episode, all of a sudden it'd be like, oh no, that person, and this is not, something happens, right? And you go, oh, I got to watch the next one right now, right? And then the next episode. And then I think people realize, oh, they're not going to leave. They'll just stay because they'll think something's going to happen. And that's how you get that show on Apple TV with Adam Scott. What was it called? I can't remember it. It's the one where he can't remember his work. And when he's
servants or something, or
anyway, so where like nothing happens to really pull you into the next episode, so you're like, oh well, something will happen in the next episode, and next thing you know, you're 6 hours in and nothing's happened. Anyway, The Diplomat gets it back to form. At the end of every episode, something happens, and you're like, oh yes, and it pulls you right in. It is the fastest 8 hours of TV I think I've ever watched, and they're about 47 minutes, 50 plus minutes each episode. So Kerry Russell is amazing. Let me just say that right off the bat. This has an 87% Rotten Tomato, 83% audience score. Kerry Russell is the best. I think she is so great. So here's the premise of the story. The premise of the story is there's an explosion on a boat, a British boat, and kills 41 of their officers. And then they have to send a new diplomat to London. So they send Kerry Russell's character, who's Kate Weiler, and her husband, Hal Weiler, who is Rufus Sewell. And then they're married. And they're each career ambassadors. And they make a point to let you know in the beginning that there's 2 types of ambassadors, and this is a real thing. There's career ambassadors, and then there's what was the other phrase? Anyway, the ones that are just rich, right? Or the appointed ambassadors, and those are just the rich ones. And so they get there, and a rich one had just left, and they're like, and the wall's blank. This is how they kind of explain the difference to you. The wall's blank, and the person says to the new ambassadors, when will you be shipping your art in? And they're like, we're career ambassadors. We don't have art. Right? Like the rich people come and they like lavishly decorate these big houses and stuff like that. So Kerry Russell is there to kind of, be the U.S. ambassador to Britain. Now, I was reading in Politico, they called this show preposterous, but loved it. Okay. And meaning like they got just enough right, but they also make it so it's a active kind of thriller drama to keep you going. So the people who this actually relates to, and it's their job, they understand the absurdity of some of the things and the over sexiness of this role that really isn't that way in real life, right. But they get it, and they did work hard enough to get enough right that it seems to kind of to work for that. So Carrie Russell, you learn very early, and I don't think this is ruining anything, is that she's actually being sent to the UK. She was supposed to go to Afghanistan and solve something there, but they send her to London, which would be more of a easy assignment, let's say. But what they're trying to do, but then the boat gets attacked, and so it suddenly becomes a political hotbed, and she's being secretly vetted to be the new vice president of the United States because the vice president is about to have a scandal erupt, and so they know they're going to have to replace her. So they sent her there as a test to see if they could just move her into the vice presidency. She doesn't know it right away. This is something that's revealed right away. It's just not revealed to her character. So I don't think I'm ruining anything. This is sort of like episode 1.
Yeah.
So, so there's that happens. And then there's an interesting dynamic because her husband is like this powerhouse career ambassador as well, but now he's just the husband, and so he has to play the wife, as he keeps calling himself. But he can secretly negotiate with things. So this whole thing is again, I don't understand the politics of it per se, but it's a lot of it's like, deals with the nuances of how governments and officials need to deal with each other. It'd be like, you have to greet them. Why do I have to greet them? Well, it's your building and it's your country. It would be considered rude if I were to do it. Can we just back channel to this person? We can't. Why? And they kind of explain how these subtle relationships are built and how you can or can't draw on them at any given point. Like, we need to send a message to the Russians, though, to find out if it was them. Like, well, we can't just call the Russians. All right, do this. Put out a tweet to the Turkish, I'm just making this up, but the Turkish press, and mention a pineapple, because the Russians will know that the president in 1942 ate a pineapple with him and mentioned Turkey, and they'll know that means we're trying to ask for peace. It's made up and like convoluted as that is. When you watch it, you go, "Oh, that was a version of what Jeff just said." It's not that crazy, So it's all the kind of politics and all that kind of stuff. Michael McKean is the president.
Right.
It takes place. He comes and goes, and there's the Secretary of State plays a little bit of the United States plays a little bit of a role, but mostly it's David Gassai, who's the Foreign Secretary for the United Kingdom. You got Rory Kinnear, who's the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and then there's a lot of kind of players. So and then it ends. Boom! Oh my God, it ends, and then you're like, oh my God, and then they go season 2 coming soon, and you're like, yes! Oh my God, they just ended it.
Okay.
I mean, they just cut off this. They didn't like resolve it. I mean, they just something happens, and you're just like, oh my God, I can't wait for season 2 now.
How many episodes was it?
There's 8.
Okay.
And how long is an episode?
Like 45 minutes, 55 minutes,
Okay.
somewhere in that range.
So I'm a big Carrie Russell fan. I think Carrie Russell has been in some really cool things. I loved her in Waitress. I loved her in, of course, The Americans. What else has she done, Jeff? I can't think of anything else.
Felicity,
of course.
What's Waitress?
It was a movie.
Oh, that was a movie she did. It was terrific. Oh, you're kidding? Oh, you're kidding.
No, I don't know it.
Oh, it's a good movie. They turned it into a play,
kidding.
Actually. They turned it into a play.
Is it the musical Waitress that I saw?
Yes, but it was originally a movie starring.
I did not know that.
Yeah, she does such a good job in that movie. It's fantastic, actually. Yeah. So yeah.
So definitely, it's on Netflix. Check it out. I think you'll get sucked in. It's I loved it. It's nuanced, but not where you get too lost. You're like, because you can understand it enough. I'm saying that from my point of view, where I don't fully understand all these crazy nuances of politics and stuff. But from that, I think I highly recommend it. I can't remember a show I've watched that I've enjoyed it this much right out of the gate.
That's those are big words. I'll have to check that out too.
Yeah. I think you'll love it, actually.
We're totally going to watch it. I've seen part of the first episode, and it was good.
Yeah. Keep going. Keep going.
Going back.
Keep doing it. You can do it. All the acting,
Awesome.
all of it's great. It's all fabulous. Cool. And that's The Diplomat. All right.
Nice.
That was awesome.
So good.
There's so much. I mean, I know we say this a lot, but there's so much good content right now. I need to like. This is a dumb question. I should be asking this of myself. Does Netflix have like a wish list or any kind of functionality where you can put things kind of into a bucket? Does it have that?
Absolutely. I'm
need
almost
to
positive.
I need
You
to
mean
get
like
on
a
that.
watch later?
Yeah, like hey,
Yeah,
this I don't
you
want to
can
forget this.
There's a list. You can add it to your list or something. Yeah.
The only list this is the thing. I got to figure that stuff out because right now the only list I use on Netflix is the algorithm itself and what am I watching currently. Like it holds where you left something.
There's something you can click on it, add to your like list. Yeah, it's a main feature.
Yeah, it's funny because
It's
you would
right
think
there.
you would
It's right
think that
there.
would be a feature I would use especially for this show. So I'm glad we're talking about it because
Because then if
I'll
you
play
see
around it.
something that's popular now but it's going to disappear, you just add it and it'll stay there.
Yeah, that's the other thing Netflix probably does a good job at that I also don't pay attention is when things are going to disappear from Netflix. Like if you only have 60 days to watch something interesting, like that would be important for me to know. And I'm sure they have that. I just don't know where that is. It seems like I'm not using Netflix to its fullest potential. But I don't know, Jeff. Do you know that?
No,
Do they do that?
no.
Like
Yeah.
expiring soon list? Is that
Yeah,
what
well,
you're
not just
usually
expiring
there's
soon, but-
articles or something that they'll put
you
out,
could
but-
Google that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's Google.
There's good.
Yeah, let me Google
How do you
that
spell,
for
how do you
you.
spell that? I'll check into all this and I'll report back on the next show.
All right.
what I figured
All
out.
right. Good show, everyone. Say goodnight, Ron.
Yeah,
Good
not
one.
traveling anywhere, so I'm back in front of my television screen this week again. So great to see everybody.
Great to see you. Marcy.
Good night, Dad. I can't believe you watched this whole show. My dad's in Vegas visiting my brother, so they're watching. Good night, you guys.
Good night, Marcy's dad. Good night, Marcy's brother. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you.
And good night, Lee and Jerry. And
Yeah.
totally.
Good night, guys. Thanks again.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. And
Bye,
that
guys.
has been another And that has been another episode of Crossing the Streams. Join us every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live on Facebook and YouTube. Follow The Jeff DeWaskin Show on YouTube to be alerted every time we go live with your hosts, Jeff DeWaskin, Ron Lippett, Howard Rosner, Bob Phillips, Sal D'Amelio. We're all in the socials. Follow us, listen to our podcasts, Classic Conversations, and The Sal and Bob Show. Check them all out, and we'll see you next week and every week when we cross more streams right here. See you then.